Tonight from behind the windshield of a Portland police car.
Come here. Come here. Do not use that language in my town. Do you understand?
Riding along with a sergeant who leads the team responsible for 41 square miles of policing, while also serving as the primary contact for social service providers trying to help the homeless.
It's people acting in that way in Old Town. It is a ticking time bomb waiting to turn into some sort of violence.
From mental illness to drugs, weapons, and a bit of everything in between, a rare view from the front lines. Here's the story. I'm Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. In places like Portland's Old Town, the homeless crisis is on raw display every day. And it's easy to throw solutions at the wall from the outside looking in, saying police should be doing this, the city should be doing that, the homeless should be doing X, Y, and Z, and it just goes on and on and on and on. But rarely do we get a look at those face-to-face interactions on the street between law enforcement and the homeless. Our Blair Best went for a ride-along to see what it's like through their eyes.
30 31.
18, I'm okay.
Got me.
It's a response to the homeless crisis we don't often see.
All right, take care of yourself, all right? All right, see you later. But it's all about demeanor. What's up, man? I go up, stick my hand out and be like, hey, what's up? I'm Matt.
Sergeant Matt Jacobson leads the city's Central Precinct Neighborhood Response Team. They cover the 41 square miles seen in this map and respond to everything from community safety issues to working investigations. They're also the point of contact for one of Portland's most pressing issues.
Homelessness. So we're the primary contact for social service providers.
Meaning when groups who work with the homeless need help, they often call him. He also responds to calls directly from residents and local business owners.
I get all sorts of stuff about property crimes, concerning behavior, camps, car camping, abandoned vehicles, drug sales, you name it. We intake it.
For the past 5 years, he's worked the front lines of this crisis, something critics are skeptical of, especially when it comes to responding to people with mental illnesses. This controversy dates back to 2012, when the U.S. Department of Justice filed a lawsuit against the city of Portland, claiming the police bureau was using excessive force too often, especially with those who were mentally ill.
We all agree that we can do better as a police bureau and as a community. This agreement will provide us a roadmap as we move forward.
The department is currently operating under the rules of a settlement that addresses police use of force. As for the critics who feel police shouldn't be working with the homeless,
You got any interest in housing, shelter, any of that stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Sergeant Jacobson sees it differently.
We hear a lot about, hey, the police should engage in our homeless population because of mental health nexus or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes those are short-sighted. What we do is so relationship-based with our folks outside that we may be the only cops that they feel comfortable reporting something to.
A daily focus for him is getting people off the streets, even if it doesn't always work.
But there's a very good segment of the population that have no interest in going into emergency shelter.
But the work by Sergeant Jacobson and his team has had some success. From April to June of this year, they've had 42 people agree to go into shelter. That's through focused work they were doing right here in Old Town. They estimate they place about 1 to 5 people in emergency shelter each week, and they know that's just a drop in the bucket. Now, many of these people are also dealing with another problem: substance use. We got a first-hand look at how that's handled by police, and sometimes it's not always a success story.
Put your hands on my hood. Put your hands on my hood.
Right now, it's not.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Put your hands on my hood. Put your hands behind your back.
On 5th and Cooch, Sergeant Jacobson caught Asia smoking fentanyl.
Why are you putting me in handcuffs?
Huh?
I get really bad anxiety.
Hey, Asia, hold on. Look at me. Look at me right in the face.
She was cited for 3 warrants and possession of a controlled substance. Being cited for possession is up to a $100 fine.
The court date is the 27th of September at 8:50 in the morning at the Justice Center, room 4. Okay?
Something about room 4, I don't know. I'm glad that I'm going to be set free. It's not that bad of a person.
She's 28 years old and has been living on the streets for 2 years.
I wasn't expecting to get caught, but I'm fine now. Like, I just want to do better.
I took a hit off of this one because I think it's fentanyl based off the taste.
Down the street, we met Brian smoking fentanyl off a scrap of tinfoil.
You just light it from the bottom. It's called freebasing.
He shows us this self-portrait he just finished drawing.
So yeah, it's me later in life being in a wheelchair because I don't ever get the help I need, and then never really getting help, so I'm stuck with a foil that has skateboard wheels because I'm dreaming about skateboarding instead of using drugs.
Brian wasn't cited for drug possession because Sergeant Jacobson didn't have backup this time. For his own safety, he often only approaches people using drugs when there is available backup, which varies given the severe staffing shortage facing the department. Overall, the Bureau has reached a historic low of 774 sworn officers. 101 of them work in Central Precinct. The precinct needs 113 to be considered fully staffed. On this day, there were just 15 officers patrolling Central Precinct, and 7 of them were on overtime. This is all in part due to a budget cut they made in 2020 amid calls to defund police. They laid off 7 people whose role it was to vet new job applicants. Since then, they've been building the department back up, but it's not a quick fix. Back in the cruiser now and on our way to Southeast. We didn't get far before a man started yelling racial slurs at us.
Hey, come here. Come here. Do not use that language in my town. Do you understand?
I use any language I want to. Do something.
Do not use the N-word.
I will do whatever I want to.
Where do you need to go right now to calm down?
I don't need to do anything except be right here.
Look at me in the eye. Do not use the N-word. It is
Fine.
not okay.
Fine.
Are we clear?
Yeah, we're cool.
You need to calm down and go somewhere. People acting in that way in Old Town, it is a ticking time bomb waiting to turn into some sort of violence.
Down the block, we found another group using drugs.
What's up?
You know that they're using, so what stops you from going to stop them?
I don't have the time or the ability to address that. I have we're going out to do something else. Okay. I couldn't make it 3 blocks without having to stop every block to address somebody using drugs on the sidewalk at this point.
Sergeant Jacobson moves forward despite these challenges. It's 2 o'clock when we pull up to a homeless camp on Southeast Division and 4th.
Put your hands in your head. Disarm first.
This time, he has backup. The officers find drugs on one man along with these large pellet guns.
So we're going to nick test it, but the subject was arrested on a warrant and had a pretty large chunk, what appears to be methamphetamine in his pocket. What looks to be like some black tar heroin.
Everyone hates us and they treat us like and then we all treat each other like.
Joseph Spry, who's been living on the streets for 10 years, watched as they arrested his friend.
It's tiring. It's overwhelming. It's hard to get anything done. It just sucks.
The overwhelming majority of folks, though,
Ollie.
probably yearn for something ultimately in their core yearn for something a little bit better.
But given the state of Portland streets, that something better won't come overnight.
This is going to be a very slow, lengthy process.
One that will take work from both those living on the streets and the ones in uniform.
Oh, it's the best job in the world.
In Central Precinct, Blair Best, KGW News.
Blair Best joins me now. He said right at the end, best job in the world. Why did he say that?
Yeah, well, Pat, this is a challenging issue to tackle, and I think he enjoys that. You know, he told me he's from Portland and wants to do his part in making the city better. But I do see how that comment can be off-putting, given everything we just saw. But when I was riding along all day, I got the sense that he really cares about these people and just wants to try and make a difference.
And I know that you've covered a lot of stories for us, a lot of homeless stories. Why this particular one?
Yeah, well, Pat, I'm really trying to cover every angle of this crisis. And I often talk with the homeless directly, to neighbors, business owners, you name it, because it's something that affects every one of us. And I don't have any sort of agenda or end goal with a story like this. It's simply just another response to this crisis. Now, I got the opportunity to get a front row seat of the work this one sergeant does every day dealing with the homeless. So I took it because I think it's important that we see for ourselves how police are interacting with those living on the streets. And it's ultimately up to you to take what you do from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and a lot of critics that we hear say, you know, police really should not be interacting with the homeless because of the mental health issue that's involved and things can quickly escalate. What did you see out there?
Yeah, so I see where they're coming from. I mean, to be honest, when I went into this, I was half expecting his interactions with the homeless to be somewhat aggressive. And I definitely wasn't expecting them to be so responsive to him. You know, he knows these people by name and deals with them every day. And because of this, he builds relationships with them. You know, I saw firsthand how many of the homeless felt comfortable around him because he was a familiar face. So I see where some people are coming from, given police can be off-putting since they have a gun and a badge, and oftentimes just them being there can escalate situations. But from what I saw with this one sergeant, that wasn't always the case.
Interesting, although he's certainly not a pushover. We saw that too.
No, of course not. And I mean, you can't be when you have a job like him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Great story. Thank you, Blair. I appreciate it.
As Portland wrestles with homelessness, gun violence is on the rise. Mayor Ted Wheeler has given the green light to a new kind of technology meant to improve police response times and, in theory, put more shooters behind bars. Theories sound great, but ShotSpotter, as it's called, has been mired in controversy from the start. We'll explain when the story returns.
It seems like everyone has an opinion when it comes to dealing with gun violence in Portland. There are a lot of different ideas out there. But it sure seems like something needs to change because people keep getting killed here. Over the weekend, 2 more people were killed, one in northwest Portland near Wallace Park, the other near Northeast 82nd and Sandy Boulevard. So far this year, there have been 960 shootings. 59 of those were deadly. That is a lot of people. The city's on pace to meet or break last year's homicide record. So what is leadership doing about it? Well, late last week, Mayor Ted Wheeler approved a pilot program that some say could make a big difference. It's called ShotSpotter, and the mayor says he wants to launch the tech on a trial basis. It's a gunshot detection technology. Basically, it's a system of microphones that alert police to where and when shots are fired. The sensors are typically mounted on buildings and light posts in neighborhoods that see a lot of violence. Supporters believe ShotSpotter could help police get to more shootings, get there faster, and find more evidence. Critics, however, say ShotSpotter is incredibly flawed.
Chances are these are going to be set up in neighborhoods that are already heavily policed or already have stereotypes of being crime heavy. And it's going to be over-policing and probably perpetuate the biases that already exist among Black and brown communities.
But not everyone sees it that way, especially the man in charge of the Focused Intervention Team Community Oversight Group, or FITCOG, who initially recommended the tech to Wheeler.
I wouldn't call it over-policing. I would say that we have been underserved. We're underserved given the number of shooting incidents that are happening in the Black and brown communities.
Even with the mayor's green light, the city council will still have to vote before ShotSpotter goes out and gets a trial on Portland streets. It's not clear when that vote could happen. But Ed Williams, who you just heard from there, says it should be a unanimous yes, that anything short of that is a vote for maintaining the status quo. Now, there have been issues with ShotSpotter in other cities, especially when police arrest someone for a gun-related crime using only ShotSpotter evidence. For example, a Chicago man was jailed for a year on a murder charge, only to have the case dismissed due to a lack of other evidence against him. But on its website, ShotSpotter says its evidence and witness testimony has been successful and admitted in over 200 court cases in 20 states. So, interesting. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think a trial run of ShotSpotter is a good idea? Or is it just trying anything to curb gun violence? Do you think that's going down the right road? Or do you worry more about police surveillance on that sort in the streets? Just let us know. Send us an email to thestory@kgw.com or leave us a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Still to come on The Story, we're switching gears and taking you to Vancouver, where a familiar sight that stood tall in the sky for decades is coming down. A bit of history and why it's being removed after the break. Been a pretty serious show so far, but not all of life is that serious, so we wanted to lighten things up a little bit. We're turning to our friend and colleague Stephen Redlin, who is certainly a special kind of storyteller. One of his latest adventures took him to Vancouver's Providence Academy, where a piece of history is coming down after decades of reaching toward the sky.
For the folks who've driven for years to and from Vancouver, Washington, they've likely grown up seeing this smokestack near the Evergreen Boulevard overpass on every trip.
It's been there their entire lives.
Temple Lentz is the president and CEO of the Historic Trust that owns the Providence Academy, the land that surrounds it, and the smokestack that marks it. After 70 years, though, the stack is coming down brick by brick.
When you're in the preservation business, having to take down any building is always sad.
The chimney hasn't been used in a long time. It was built in the mid-1950s with local bricks and mortar without any reinforcing.
The mortar just so deteriorated it's not even holding the brick.
Ron King's company, Three Kings Environmental, is doing the careful work. 40 feet of the stack is being taken down brick after brick with hammers, handwork, and patience. Up high, the evidence is clear that the hands-on approach is necessary.
There's a bunch of cracks that come down where they enter the brick. It's cracked on where the holes are that it's put in there. It's cracked pretty good.
There's been many ideas put forward to keep the stack standing.
To save it, it would have been to cover it. It could have been a collar and yoke system. Could have involved pouring concrete all the way down the middle. The building might still be here, but the things they love would be gone.
The cost to meet safe seismic standards and stabilize the stack was estimated to be $3.5 million. The building right next to it held the laundry services and housed the older students.
By 1856, the sisters came out.
Docent Carolyn Plenty gives tours of the main Providence Academy building. Besides the big army base and the large trading post, French-Canadian Mother Joseph and her followers built the academy to bring stability, charity, and education to the region.
So there are women who went to school here who still live here.
I'm in the picture. I went to school at Providence Academy from kindergarten, and I came back here for high school and graduated in 1966.
Her memories of the smokestack are warm ones.
It was providing heat to the building and kept us warm in the steam heat. We'd hear the pipes expanding, making creaking noises, steam noises as the heat, hot steam went through.
The pipes are just a reminder of history now. As the smokestack comes down, the bricks that have been cooked full of metals can't be saved. The Historic Trust is sorting the worthy bricks out, saving them and building a new foundation from the past.
Redo parts of the building or some of the landscape in front. We'll be able to reuse a number of those materials.
Stacking up what's left of the historic smokestack is just the start of an old property building a new future.
And I'm just glad they're going to be able to save this property, the Mother Joseph story.
In Vancouver, Washington, I'm Stephen Redlin, KGW News.
Very nice, Stephen. Thank you. Hey, if you're just like me, you miss a lot of the news that happens over the weekend. I mean, there's just so much going on outside. And that's a shame, though, because there's a lot of great stories. So we're launching a new segment on Mondays to help us all catch up. Here's a look at a few of our favorite weekend stories.
Oregon State Representative James Heeb will not face criminal charges. He was arrested at the Clackamas County Fair last month.
Several calls from employees telling us that you refuse to put out a cigarette and refuse to leave. That's not cool.
Yeah, oh, I didn't get told to leave.
Much of it was recorded on deputy body cameras.
There we go.
Alright, we're not
Go
gonna
ahead.
play this game.
Hurt me. Go for it. What are you gonna do?
Why are you acting like
Why the just chill. Wrenching on my arms?
Heeb admits he'd been drinking. After reviewing the case, though, prosecutors said Heeb had not violated any laws. Also over the weekend,
a department store like you've never seen it before.
I've shopped here before, so it was a little surreal coming back to where I used to buy socks on discount.
The old Marshalls at Lloyd Center transformed into Portland's least secret roller disco.
I'm roller skating. Well, it's at Lloyd Center of all places. Like, it's a big thing to skate here.
In downtown Portland, a special 15th birthday for a girl battling cancer.
To make her daughter's dream come true, her mother, Christina, turned to social media with a post inviting peers to come celebrate Savai's birthday.
I heard this through Instagram.
Social media, yeah, everybody was reposting it.
And word spread.
I saw a Twitter retweet and I started sharing it to friends and just sharing it with my community, and I just thought it'd be great to be here today.
Dozens showed up to the Salmon Spring Fountain to skate with Savai.
And meet the Oregon man trying to win Best Mullet in America. Museo Chavez from Woodburn is currently in the top 25 mullets in America thanks to Facebook votes. Final voting to decide the winner begins on October 7th. If he wins, he'll walk away with $2,500 in cash and the title of Best Mullet in America. If you missed any of our big stories from last week, we have a newsletter. It comes out every Monday, and it holds a rundown of our biggest stories. It's easy to subscribe. Just open the camera on your phone, point it at this QR code, and it'll take you to a page where you can sign up. You can also go to kgw.com/newsletter.
How about that? Now you're up to date. Keep sending your questions and comments to the story at kgw.com. We'll finish up right after this, but in the meantime, let's take a look out the window at the Rose City Skycam, where the sun is kind of threatening to go down. And we have time for one of our reader comments or viewer comments. Anna writes in to say, wow, the segment featuring a ride-along with police officer Jacobson was fantastic. Brilliant idea, really interesting and educational perspective on a difficult job. Thanks, Anna. And thanks to all of you for watching. That's the end of our show. Remember, though, the story, our story, well, that never ends.